just outside DHO Greenpoint Stadium, where earlier today my Stormers defeated the Lions, not ending their playoff hopes. The Lions can still qualify, but it all depends on the Osprey score. In fact, let's take a look at that before we get into the news here, because I want to see if the Lions made it. They got a bonus point in the loss by losing by just 5 points. And I need to take a look and see if the Osprey got themselves in. The Osprey, I don't think they did. Oh, it's still live. It's still live. That game is still ongoing here. So we don't have an answer on that one yet. Okay, well, there you go. All right, welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you join me once again. We're going to talk tonight about the permutations, about the ANC. It's a disastrous, catastrophic election. The EFF has already listed demands. The Economic Freedom Fighters has demanded the finance ministry post should it go into a coalition with the African National Congress, as well as the Speaker of Parliament. Now, Julius Malema said that Floyd Shivambu, the man convicted of his fraudulent activity of ethics violations when it came to the VBS bank looting scandal, profiting to the tune of at least 180,000 rand, which he failed to disclose, an ethics violation. So Julius Malema is saying that Floyd Shivambu is the man to be the finance minister. This is a crazy world we're living in indeed, when someone thinks that Floyd Shivambu is qualified to be a finance minister. I mean, I don't know what crack cocaine these people are on, but it is pretty interesting. So let me find that story here very quickly. That's being reported. Is it in the Independent Line? I think it's reporting it. Just a moment here. So, yeah, no, it's News 24. Malema demands finance and National Assembly Speaker positions ahead of coalition talks. He said that Floyd will be a minister of finance if these people agree, because he's the most qualified in all respects. You mean he just steals less money than the rest of the ANC? That's what you mean. None of the people they have put there have a better understanding of the institution than Floyd. So yeah, we put our best candidate forward. Well, your best candidate would be a doorknob. Doorknobs don't steal. And so that would be your best candidate. This is crazy. So coalition talks are already underway. They only have 14 days to form a government. And so the ANC now is in a difficult spot, and they're working on getting themselves coalition partner. Well, we will see what happens there. Anyway, so a lot of parties really have a lot to be embarrassed about here, quite frankly. I'm sorry, there's people that for some reason, instead of going in their frickin' rooms, they stand in the hallway in this hotel and talk. There's only 3 rooms in this part of the building. For some reason, these asswipes have got to stand in the hallway and talk. It's very annoying, very annoying. Oh, we hit a milestone while I was out getting some dinner. So I went looking for an Indian restaurant, and I found Tiger's Milk. So Tiger's Milk was not my destination, but I went there, and it's a good thing, because on the way back it began to pour. I had to use my Stormers DHL flag as a modified umbrella to keep myself from getting completely drenched. Anyway, we're gonna get to the permutations here and the situation, but I want to make sure I got it started here by telling you that the bottom line here is that Julius Malema is already making demands. Already making demands. That is just beyond the pale. But hey, you know, it's Juju. It's EFF. What do we expect? You may hear a reverb here in a second. By the way, I like my Stormers flag as I load the video so I can actually see the chat better than I see it on this small phone here. Right. Thanks to everybody that's been finding the channel. Once again, it proves that YouTube does hide the content. And I'm not complaining. I'm just stating a fact here. I've been in Cape Town for a few days, and hundreds, if not thousands, of new people discovered this channel. It was hidden from them the entire time I've been in the States, so very disappointing. Let me say hello to some of my viewers before we continue on with this analysis, and thank you for your patience. Jan Thrion is there, says Russia, Cuba going to chaos and meltdown. Commies getting their just desserts. Myra Page, Chantel Gentles here. Brian Lawrenson, Sean Gunther. New names overall. Floyd Shivambu, and you lose one, you blame it. Vilma Erasmus, John Hutchinson from Arizona. Thank you, John, for being in from Arizona. Who else we got there? Sue Walsh. Welcome, Sue. Good to see you. Paulie, it's our fire porn man himself, the fire chief, Paulie. Located somewhere in the area, but not where he's at right now. Ronell Guntz is here. Welcome back, Ronell. Good to see you again. Hendo, the always ever-present moderator. Hendo, our Cape Colored, who keeps us straight. And who else we got here? Emil Thaird is there. Good to see you, Emil. And Graham, welcome back. Mario Rebello is back. It is cold and wet in Cape Town. You're correct. Garrett Gilch in from Somerset West. Gina Mullen is back once again. Teresa. There's Erica up there in Parklands. Well, not really in Parklands, but nearby. What was the Stormers score? 29-24. So the Lions get a bonus point for the loss. Takes them to 50 points on the log for the season. Right now, the Osprey must get a bonus point victory in order to overtake them, because they'll tie them and they'll be ahead of them for some other reason. I think they'll be head-to-head. Mark Sayers here. Who else we got there? And Ulrich Fenter, Martin Filion, Karen J. Floyd Shivambu, the finance minister. You must be joking. Yes, yes, he is implicated in the VBS, and that is who Julius Malema has put forward. That is a demand. Also, the ANC has made some demands. They're in no position to make demands, but they have said that whoever comes to their coalition, that national health insurance scam law, communist takeover is non-negotiable. If you become part of that coalition, you must accept that, as well as all the other garbage legislation they've just passed. Here's the bottom line, though. This is the initial position. These people come out and make this nonsense, loud boast, and they will back off of it. Remember, the DA said we'll never enter a coalition with the ANC. Remember that? As part of the multi-party charter. The whole purpose of the multi-party charter was for 11 parties to work together to garner enough seats, enough votes that they would remove the ANC from government. And now already the federal chairperson of the Democratic Alliance, Helen Zille, is telling Independent Line that excuse me, a coalition with the ANC is not out of order. It may be possible. Clive Streak is here. So these sides, over the next several days, we're going to report this again and again. Sometimes it'll sound like a rumor. Sometimes it'll be one report and won't be substantiated. I'll do my best to run the rumors down, then give you my analysis of the likelihood or possibility when somebody says something. So, for instance, Floyd Shivambu is the finance minister. Not going to happen. The ANC is not that stupid. They know he's a crook. They know he's incompetent. They know he's a race hostler. And they have enough problems. They need this country to generate revenue. They need people who are paying taxes. And if we have someone messing around with the finance ministry, that's not going to go well for the government. So, in the country. Marilyn Brokenshaw's here. Hey, Marilyn, how's it going, Northcliffe? And who have I missed here? Gus is here. And my 5 pence is back. Good to see you again at my 5 pence. Thanks to 135 people currently here. I'm Chris. I'm in, I started to say central Pennsylvania. I'm actually not even the central business district of Cape Town, but actually off of Main Road, just opposite the DHL Greenpoint Stadium, where I was earlier for a beautiful sunny day. We had lovely weather, but now it's gone. The Stormers have ensured that they cannot go below fifth pace, which means good news for them. It could have gotten bad, but they've come in fifth. Edinburgh choked today against Benetton. Benetton came up big time and won that game at home, crushed Edinburgh. Edinburgh's out of the playoffs. A team that was leading or in second place for a few weeks this season is now, and I'm not talking about 3 weeks in the season, I'm talking about 10, 12 weeks in the season. They were up at the top. Now they're out of the playoffs. All right, so more back to the election here. Here are the numbers at this hour. Almost every polling station has reported in, almost every single polling station. And once again, it's time for me to crow. If you're getting tired of that, I apologize. But when you were this right, this far, earlier tonight I went to Tiger's Milk. This guy was drinking, whom I just met, said, that was easy to make this prediction. Anybody could have gotten this prediction. Anybody could have said that the ANC was going to fall down. No, that is simply not true. Nobody did. If they could, why didn't they? I'm the only analyst that I'm aware of on the planet who's been telling you endlessly the ANC in 2024, if it's a free and fair election, will get between 38 and 42% max. They will not go above 42%. I said that over and over again. At this hour, with 99, nearly 100% of the polling stations in, the ANC has 40.19% of the vote, 6.4 million. Ladies and gentlemen, that is 4 million votes less than they got in 2019. So not only is their percentage dropped by 17 points, 17 points they lost, 57% down to 40%. Not just that, but they lost 4 million votes on top of that. Now, if the other parties hadn't lost votes, like the DA, they lost 110,000, but they lost 400,000 or 500,000 from their election in 2014. If they hadn't lost seats, then the ANC's percentage would have been even lower. The Democratic Alliance with 21.8% of the vote, not exactly a success or impressive. They have 3,489,606 votes. And then the new kids on the block. No, I'm not talking about the boy band. I'm talking about Mkhonto Sizwe, whose candidate cannot sit in Parliament, whose manifesto only appeared a few weeks ago, which is a thoroughly racist, unconstitutional piece of racist drivel. This party which has no headquarters, this party which has no obvious source of funding, this party which has no organization, is a cult of personality, and Jacob Zuma is the cult they latch onto. 2,335,566 votes, giving MK 14.59% of the vote. Now let's put this in perspective. Julius Malema, the inconvenient child, Julius Malema, has been in charge of his bum-hurt ANC Youth League, aka the Economic Freedom Fighters, for 3-4 elections now? And this is their fourth election, or at least third election, and they have never exceeded 11%. and now they're at 9.5%. We'll get to them in a moment. But MK, their first time out of the gate with no manifesto until the end, a racist platform, no leader, no budget, internal chaos, accusations of signature fraud to get on the ballot, and MK gets almost 15% of the vote their first time out. That's pretty frightening. And if you're the EFF and you're Julius Malema, you have no answer for that. So at this hour, let me just refresh the page and make sure we're straight. I'm on the Independent Electoral Commission, by the way. So if you're wondering where I get my results from, it's from the IEC. I don't go to Propaganda 24, don't go to IOL, I don't go to Times Live. Oops, what's going on here? Restore this tab. Oh, my tab crashed. I don't go to any of them except to read what their analysis is, but I don't go to them for the raw numbers. I go to the IEC's website. And the IEC now, as I said, let me just check the percentage here. I'm going to reload it because it's hidden. 99.81%. There are 23,247 polling voting districts, and 23,292 are the total. So 23,247. So we're down to 45 polling districts that have yet to report. That's pretty much virtually the entire country. I can see that one is in the Free State, another appears to be in Northwest, and I can't see where the others are. I think they're in KZN. So that's it. So now you have the ANC number one, the Democratic Alliance is the second largest party with virtually no change in percentage, but having lost more votes. MK, out of nowhere, in third place. EFF with 9.5% of the vote at 1.5 million. They lost 300,000 votes. All of them went to MK, I guarantee it. And then the Inkatha Freedom Party, which upped its percentage this time, but its raw numbers are down in 617,000 or 3.86? Let me just check with these. Yeah, 3.86. There's something wrong with my screen. I can't see. Oh, there's some crap on the screen. That's why. Okay, 3.86. Then you've got the Patriotic Alliance from Gate McKenzie, which had just 6,600 votes in 2019. This time, Gate McKenzie's populist message of foreigners out and the ANC is a failure. Let's take care of the colored folks. His message resonated with 329,322 votes, 2.06%. Another big loser in this race, unfortunately, is the Freedom Front Plus, which had 440,000 votes the last time around. The Freedom Front Plus now has just 217,362 votes. That is 1.36% of the poll, which means the 10 seats they had are gone. Rough math, I'm going to guess they now have 4 of the 10 seats they once had in Parliament. And so they're a very small voice indeed going forward. That's unfortunate. It's a voice of reason, a rational, calm group of people who are serving in Parliament for the Freedom Front Plus. So they are big losers. Action SA, Herman Mashaba, the Mr. Fix-It, the former mayor of Johannesburg under the Democratic Alliance. Herman Mashaba is a vanity project, the Action SA party, which is a real party, not really a vanity project. I think that's a bit unfair to call it that. Other things are vanity projects, but I think he had a real intent here to try to change things. And I met some wonderful candidates from Action SA and interviewed a few of them, lovely people. But his party, this has to be a stinging rebuke and a disappointment. They did well in the municipal elections in 2021 when they first started, but they only competed in Gauteng and in KZN and Durban. That was it. Nowhere else in the country, and they did very well. They got on the city council. They've been an effective voice there and a participant in government, but they got just 189,745 votes, or 1.19% of the electorate. Now, here's some other big losers in this election. Unfortunately, the African Christian Democratic Party didn't crack 100,000. They have 96,133 votes, 0.6%. The United Democratic Movement of Bantu Holomisa, 78,072 votes. Now here come the two new kids, the vanity projects, which were supposed to be a big splash. The argument was that the PA, BOSA, Build One South Africa, and also the Rise Mzansi Party were going to clean the Democratic Alliance's clock, particularly Western Cape. And I said, that's just a fantasy. And of course, it is a fantasy. Rise Mzansi, 67,427 votes total in a country with 27 million registered voters. BOSA, Build One South Africa, vanity project, Musi Maimane, got just 65,450 votes, or 0.41% of the vote. That is not enough to get a seat. I think, well, maybe it is. It might be enough. Independent candidates have to get 45,000. I think that's the same for all. So it might be one seat for Rise Mzansi, one from BOSA. There's a super chat from Paulie, and he's given 200 Rand. It says, beer money. Yeah, I could use it. I had a beer. Yeah, I went to Tiger's Milk, and I had a beer. All right, the African Transformation Movement, 63,000. Al Jamaya, 39,000. Let's get down to some of the ones. Pan-African Congress. And Tani Pat, Patricia DeLille, the self-proclaimed voice of the Cape Coloreds and colored folks in the Western Cape and around the country. The woman who, every time she's angry, forms a new political party and jumps ship, the Good Party. Her party got just 29,480 votes. Perhaps now News 24 will not devote so much ink to listening to Brett Herron every time that he's got something to say that really counts nothing. So the Good Party, non-existent. So will that party go away? I don't know. Neil de Beer's UIM, just 19,873 on the national ballot. They did better percentage-wise in the Western Cape, but not so great nationally. And then it just goes on from there. Now, there's a couple other parties I should mention here. By the way, Azapo is still around, designing People's Liberation, or what do they call themselves? COPE. Oh, by the way, Neil de Beer beat COPE. UIM beat COPE. The Congress of the People, Terra Lakota, said he's retiring after this election, and with good reason. COPE, which once upon a time took 7.5% of the national vote in an election, got 0.09%, less than 0.1% with 14,062 votes. That's not even a rounding error. So we got a couple more I want to talk about here very quickly because people are interested in them, but they didn't really get much accomplished here. On the national ballot, the OHM, the One Humanity Movement ballot, that's Lauren Bernardo. I've been told that that's the spouse of Mr. Odez. Whatever, but that party got 5,263 votes, or 0.03%. And then finally, the last one I want to talk about here is the Referendum Party, which is seeking to have a referendum in the Western Cape. They were hoping to get 100,000 votes in the Western Cape. They didn't do that. We'll get back to that in a second. On the national ballot, they got just 3,803 votes, or 0.02, and that's got to be disappointing for them. All right, so there you go, folks. That is the situation at this hour, with almost 100% of the precincts having reported in. Tomorrow, most likely, the IEC will announce the final results. There is a lot of consternation about this. A lot of videos on social media circulating from party officials, purported party officials, talking pundits, claiming corruption here, missing ballot boxes there, lists not making sense. I did see a video earlier from some woman who said that, of course, they track their voters. Now, I found it odd that the ANC actually, and they've always done this, they have people at the polling stations with an ANC tent, and every ANC voter is expected to go through the tent so they can identify them to confirm that they get to vote, but also so the ANC can track them. Now, I thought that was kind of odd, but it is allowed. There's nothing illegal about it. But I understand fully now why the ANC does it, having gone through the process in person rather than studying it from a distance. The ANC knows exactly how many votes they should have gotten. Now, people can come out and sign the ANC's ballot, go inside, and they can vote for Good Party, or they can vote for the PA, they can vote for the DA, whatever they want to do, or the UIM. But odds are most people who go to an ANC tent are going to vote for ANC on all the ballots. So that makes sense. Now, some of the smaller parties did the same thing. They kept track of their voters. And so, a lady was on one of the videos earlier that one of my viewers sent me, and she said, we had 111 people, I don't remember the exact numbers, we had 111 people who came through on the national ballot for our party. We went to the IEC, and they said there were 0 votes. We had 89 people on the regional ballot, or the provincial ballot, and the IEC said we had 6 votes. And then she went through a whole list of these things. It was very fishy, very, very fishy. I don't know who the woman is. I can't speak to the veracity of her or her argument. I'm not at the National Results Center in Gauteng. I'm in Western Cape, so I really can't say. What I can tell you is there's a lot of consternation. Every party in the Western Cape except the Democratic Alliance demanded an extension for them to file a grievance with the results because it's unclear. So they asked for more time, a contestation from the IEC, and all of them are demanding a recount. For its part, MK, Mkhonto we Sizwe, is actually demanding a recount in KZN. They won 45% of the vote in KZN, and they want a recount. Be careful what you ask for, Jay-Z. Jacob Zuma, you get a recount, your numbers might go down. I think you should be happy. Take your prize and walk home. I think that's good enough. And let's take a look at the around the horn and all the different provinces. That's what we're going to do now, okay? So let me just go ahead and get started with that. We'll go to the Western Cape first. And by the way, the turnout, we were told the turnout was going to be high. That was not the case, ladies and gentlemen. That was not the case. Not the case at all. In fact, turnout was abysmally low. And what have I always said as an elections analyst, as a political scientist, what have I always told you? A low voter turnout favors smaller opposition parties. And it's true. However, it only favored certain opposition parties. It didn't favor parties like the Freedom Front Plus, ACDP, but it did favor the PA and a few other small parties. So, Western Cape Assembly. 100% of the precincts in, done and dusted, unless there's a recount here. The Democratic Alliance, which I projected 52% a few weeks ago, they were at 55 yesterday, but they got whittled down a little bit here. They had over 1 million votes, 1,056,072 votes, putting them at 53.05%. They retain possession of the Western Cape provincial legislature and do not need anyone to govern. The African National Congress increased its vote, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and double check. For some reason, I think they had 18 last time. I could be wrong. But they have 21.34%, 424,756 votes. And then the Patriotic Alliance, they got 7.33% of the vote in the Western Cape for 145,913 votes. But the 21% from the ANC and the 7% from the PA don't matter because the DA can rule without them. Let me get back here and see what's going on in the chat. Hang on a second. That's not it either. Where's the thing? I'm looking for this thing over here. There we go. All right, because I'm missing some comments from people. Let me get these comments. I don't want to miss them, and I'll get back to my analysis. So that's Western Cape. So Paulie gave the super chat. Thank you. Nezzy says, hey, beautiful beings, are you like me at the Angry Nest? Angry Naughty Children. So FW Stridham deleted the message. Sean, DA got 75% expat overseas votes. Yeah, well, 75% of 78,000 isn't much. The Bulls are South African champions. Yes, they are, genre, and they're about to be Ulster was defeating, let's see if it's still going on, was defeating Munster. Now Munster's taking the lead. Munster came back and won. They beat them. I'll be damned. It was 24-14, and Ulster gave up 2 tries, and they lost it, so now the table's complete. Munster comes in first. The Bulls are in second place. Wow. What that does mean, however, is if the Bulls win this weekend on June 8th at Loftus, they are guaranteed a home semifinal. That is cool. With a home semifinal, I will be trying to make sure that I'm there for the semifinal. I will be there for the quarterfinal. I have tickets for the quarterfinal already, plus waiting for my media credentials. So the Bulls finished second on the log with 66 points. Munster comes in top, 13 wins, 1 draw, 4 losses, the best record. Leinster crashes late in the season, and they wind up at 13-5, so they're fourth. So the Stormers will be going to Glasgow. Yep. Stormers will go to Glasgow to take on the Warriors, and that who win better than them at 6 points better than them because they're bonus points in the win. So yeah, that's going to happen. And then Munster will play the Lions. The Lions made it. Their Lions are in. Wait, Cardiff and the Ospreys not over yet. Sorry, that game isn't over yet. I thought the game was over. Let me take a look. So the Cardiff and Osprey game is still running. Yeah, how can that still be going on? I thought the game was over. Let me see what minute it's in here very quickly. I'll get back to the election, folks. Don't disappear on me here. Okay, 33-29. It's full time. So did the Osprey get 4 tries? They did. So they got a bonus point. So did they beat the Lions now? So maybe they beat the Lions. I have to reload that, and the Lions will be out if that's the case. So let's see. There was the point. I think point differential. Maybe let's see. Yep, the Lions are out. Osprey tied them on points, and they go forward based on wins. So the Lions are eliminated from the playoffs. They were on the cusp. So Munster will take on Osprey at home. Bulls will face Benetton at Loftus next week. I'll be there. Leinster will host Ulster, and Glasgow will host the Stormers. And that's there you go. So that's what's coming up. Okay, back to this comments. Ndonga's back. Ndonga, the ANC will get 50+1. They will rule into eternity. Isn't that what you said, Ndonga? When I told you they wouldn't do better than 42%. Do you remember that, Ndonga? So, look, Ndonga is. Did you have you had the wax cleaned out? Just checking. Yeah. First NEC meetings, distractions, demand is meet resignation that clears way for us. You're correct there. Ndonga does clear the way for an EFF. MK ANC coalition if they get rid of Cyril Ramaphosa. Yep. But Ndonga is the one who swore and told me I didn't know what I was talking about, and that hey, there's Liam. Welcome back, Liam. Marvin de Leon, UIM. How did the UIM cheat? Alvin Westrat, Freedom Front betrayed their voters. That's the reason for the climb. How did the Freedom Front betray their voters, Alvin? Please explain that. I'm curious. Unknown massacre. Yeah, exactly. And what else we got here? And then. Not catching many lives, but Chris, still, I'm glad you're there, Nezzy, but I got plenty of lives in South Africa. UN was just a goon taking chances. That's utter nonsense. He clearly don't know Neil de Beer. You can dislike him because he betrayed South Africa during the apartheid regime. You can dislike him because he betrayed the ANC, and you would have fair basis for that. But calling the guy racist on the basis of what? You clearly don't know anything about him. Anonymous Lex, math is not mathing. At one stage, DA was 300,000 behind ANC nationally. Well, there's a very good reason for that, Anonymous Lex, and I'll tell you why that can happen. And that is because the IEC in the Western Cape, despite the fact that the polling stations were cocked up in many locations and they didn't have enough tablets, and they weren't organized, and it made it seem like a lot of people showed up when it was actually just 58% turnout around the country. The IEC got its results in from the polling stations in the Western Cape much faster than KZN, much faster than Limpopo, much faster than the Eastern Cape. So, of course, initially over the first day, the DA was within 300,000 votes. The DA originally had over 30%, if you remember. In the first numbers that came out for most of the first day, they were 31% or better. And that's because the places where the DA does better, they won outright in the Western Cape, reported their results. The ANC only got 20%, 21% here in the Western Cape. So they reported these results. The DA got 53%, the ANC got 21%, and actually the numbers were better. Until just a few hours ago, the DA here had 55%, and the ANC had 19%. So that's why it looked nationally as if they were closer. And that's why I cautioned people. All along, I said, hey, the ANC's at 43%, but that could change when the numbers come in from Eastern Cape, when they come in from Limpopo, when they come in from Mpumalanga. Could change, and it did. But it was enough, and the ANC was crushed by the performance of the MK party inside KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, and in Gauteng. That destroyed the ANC. The ANC is a dead man walking, and they don't know it. They're still arrogant, and they need to be taught a lesson. So the math does add up anonymous elections. You have to understand or be familiar with how elections roll out. This is why when they were reporting number of voting districts that had reported, to me that meant nothing. Because, for instance, in my district where I ran for office last month and lost, the polling stations are different. As a judge of elections, I have the largest polling precinct in the entire district. Over 5,000 registered voters that I have to handle if they all come out, and that's a crazy day. There are polling stations that are lucky to see 300 people per day, because where I'm at, those are based in geographic areas so that people have distance to how far to travel to polling, not based on population. The district I represent is based on population, 65,000 people. However, the polling stations, 19 of them are spaced around so that they're equidistant, so that people don't have to drive too far so they can get a go vote. And I can't say that's the case with South Africa. I know that there's tons of polling stations in Khayelitsha and Cape Flats. I went to five polling stations in Khayelitsha. Anyway, so the math does add up anonymous elections. You just have to understand how they're doing it. Eric asks, I'm not going to be polite. So Sedgefield says, big lesson, lots of wasted time, money. So now Ndonga calls Neil de Beer a racist, and then he behaves as a racist here, calling Ramaphosa a white stooge. That's a racist statement there, buddy. Knock it off. All right, so Sean says, have you watched Franz Kroney's interview? No, I haven't. I don't watch Alex Hogue. He puts me to sleep. It's like if I have narcolepsy, it's instigated by watching that broadcast. I'd like to listen to Franz Kroney, but I didn't know he was on there. So for those who don't know, I've been very busy. I have meetings with people. I've given lectures. I've made appearances. I'm running around place to place. Actually, Ndonga says he told Erica there's nowhere I've been disrespectful. That's untrue, Ndonga. I just read a statement which you made a racist utterance. You claimed that somebody's a racist, and then you made a statement that someone could easily infer as a racist statement. So just ease up. You can put your views out there. You're welcome to put them out there. Laudine Monday's here. Welcome, Laudine. How you doing? And then I'll get back to my analysis here shortly after Patrick says Gayton can't help the ANC at all in this election unless they give votes from. Yeah, they can't help them because they only have 2%. It's nothing. Some people give you a case of narcolepsy. I hope it's not me. I'm asking for your thoughts on the PA's manifesto because of your military background. Well, I didn't read all the PA's manifesto. I was turned off by some of it. They're trying to emulate Trump in some respects. South Africa first. And, you know, he makes statements that make it appear as if he wants to eject all foreigners from South Africa. Then he quantifies them by saying we're talking about illegal aliens. There's nothing wrong with kicking out illegal aliens. They have no business being here. They have no right here. They're violating your sovereignty. They don't have any respect for your laws, and they should be gone. Dan Bailey's in from Wyoming. Welcome, Dan. How you doing? Okay, all right, back to the numbers here. So we did the Western Cape, but let me just run through a couple more numbers in the Western Cape, okay? So, yeah, I did. Okay, so let's go from Western Cape. We're going to pick another, and all precincts have voted and turned in the results and have all been reported to the public now by the ANC, by the IEC. All right, so we're going to go to Northwest, and that's a traditional ANC stronghold, and ANC has easily won Northwest because people there can't think for themselves. The ANC got 57.73% of the vote in Northwest Province. Of course, that's where Rustenburg is at, Zeerust and other places, Mafeking. And that's 510,588 votes. The EFF came in second with 17.37%, 153,623 votes. And then there's the Democratic Alliance, which usually comes in around 10 to 15% or 13%. They have 13% with 116,000 votes. There are a lot of farms in Northwest, and so I'm sure that's one reason why the DA did well there. Beyond that, we've got the Freedom Front Plus, one of their better performances, 23,000 votes. MK, 18,000. MK got 2% of the vote in Northwest. That's a bit shocking. It's not a place where you find Zulu. It's where you find Swana speakers and Afrikaners. Action SA got 1.7%. The PA got less than 1%. All right, so that's Northwest. Let's move on to Limpopo, which is a traditional ANC stronghold. And of course, it shows that once again, it's almost all green. There's actually a few places that the Freedom Front Plus won. They won 6 constituencies they won. The Freedom Front Plus did. And that's also got a lot of farming in Limpopo. But 73% for the ANC, they got 1 million of their votes came from here. 1,037,620 votes for the ANC. And 14% went to the EFF with 199,000. And this is 100% complete reporting. The Democratic Alliance didn't do well here, just 5.95%, but that's not unusual. 84,283 votes. Freedom Front Plus got 1%, 15,000 MK, 8.85%. Once again, MK, surprising performance with 12,000 votes in Limpopo. So let's continue and get the next province on here. So I hope you're enjoying the analysis and conversation. I'm going to take a brief moment here to fix my flag, which just rolled away from me there. And then I will stick around, folks. Going to talk about events for tomorrow. Also going to talk about my shopping today, if that interests you, and books I picked up on South Africa. All right, hang on a second. Needed that. Stay hydrated. Energy. All right, so provincial legislature. We did the Northwest now, Limpopo. Let's go to Northern Cape. All right. Northern Cape is another ANC stronghold, but they were in trouble there, and they do not have an outright majority. They will need a coalition partner, but it'll be easy for anybody to be their coalition partner because they have 49.34% of the vote. So the ANC in the Northern Cape did not win it outright. Interestingly enough, several parties won constituencies. I can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8. If these are actually, I can't tell, it's so small in the map. Looks like maybe 8 constituencies were won by the Patriotic Alliance. The Democratic Alliance won so many I can't even count them all. Here's a lot of them. The EFF actually won 1, 2, 3, it looks like 4. And then the Freedom Front Plus, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's a area that the vote was split very widely. 195,267 votes for the African National Congress, which comes out to 49.34% of the Northern Cape. The Democratic Alliance did well here, about their national level support, 83,848 votes, or 21.19. The EFF did better here than they did in many places, picking up 52,000 votes, shockingly, for 13.25%. The Patriotic Alliance did well here, not a surprise, 8.64, which tracks with their performance in the Western Cape, 34,130. The Freedom Front Plus did okay, 7,200. And then MK got 3,100. Action SA got 2,000 votes in this. So that's the Northern Cape. Let's turn our attention now to, let me see if all the stations are in. Yes, 100. I think pretty much everything is in now. So Northern Cape, we've got a few more provinces to cover, and I'll give you some more analysis and my thoughts on what's going on here. So, I don't need National Assembly, I need provincial legislature, and I need Mpumalanga, another ANC traditional stronghold. Let's get to that. So Mpumalanga, You can load anytime. There you go. ANC was under 50% because of the impact of MK. However, it pulled it out with a lot of districts that reported late. And so now, in Mpumalanga, the ANC has 51.15, so they can rule outright 584,609 votes. MK in Mpumalanga is the second largest party. They got 193,995 votes, or 17%, 16.97% of the electorate. And on top of that comes next the EFF, the 158,511 votes, or 13.87% of it. Now, this is another province where you would think that ANC would have walked across the board, but it's not. There are plenty of constituencies won by the Democratic Alliance, which actually came in fourth in this race in Mpumalanga. But they won a lot of geographical areas, including the Kruger area up there, of course. It looks like they didn't win Nelspruit. And then the Freedom Front Plus won one constituency, and MK won a whole bunch of constituencies. And EFF won at least 2 or 3. So yeah, all over the place here. Action SA just got a handful of votes. Freedom Front Plus got 17,000 votes here. And so the DA with 137,000, 12%. So Mpumalanga is split, but there is a majority, and that is the ANC. So let me double check. Yeah, that's also 100%, so those numbers shouldn't change. We've got a few more provinces to cover here now. So let's go to the one that everybody's been excited about. This is the one that's really got people's attention. None other than KwaZulu-Natal, ladies and gentlemen. And this one is wild. Wow, the DA actually won some areas here, but let's go through the numbers. Okay, MK Party, brand new party, didn't exist, doesn't have a real platform except racism and theft and the abrogation of the Constitution and a bunch of other nonsense. MK Party, 44.9% of the vote, 1.573 million, 908 votes. Wow, 1,573,908 votes. For almost 45% of the vote in KZN. The Inkatha Freedom Party, born in KwaZulu-Natal, came in with 18.28%, 640,726 votes. Some of their own officials were whistling past the cemetery a couple of days ago saying that just wait for the votes to come in, we'll surpass MK. You would have had to double your number and then add a bunch more, and you still wouldn't have beaten MK in KZN. The African National Congress is now the third largest party in KwaZulu-Natal, and for decades it's been the biggest party by a wide margin, thumping IFP in the past and the DA. Now it is at only 17.22%. Given the DA got 471,843 votes, they're very respectable for them. 13.46% of the vote, tracking close to what they had last time. And that makes them the fourth largest party and nipping at the heels of the ANC. EFF was destroyed in KwaZulu-Natal, utterly destroyed. The EFF got just 83,485 votes, or 2.38% of the vote. Surprisingly, ACDP got 11,593. Action SA got 10,454, which isn't a surprise. They were doing a lot of campaigning there. We thought they would have done better. So there you go. That is MK country now, KwaZulu-Natal. Scary, scary stuff. Most of the ANC constituencies were located in the southern portion of KZN, which abuts against Eastern Cape, which are traditional ANC strongholds. So that's that one. Let's go to Gauteng. This is also an interesting one here. Another place where the ANC didn't do particularly well. In Gauteng, once again, multiple parties and one constituencies. And I can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are several tiny geographic but heavily populated constituencies that haven't reported yet. This must be one of the few places left in the country, so this may change the percentages for the ANC and for the DA, both of whom could profit. It looks like, if I'm looking at this correctly, it's north of Pretoria that's out, plus some in Johannesburg that haven't been reported yet. Needless to say, at this hour, the African National Congress on June 1st at 8:30 in the evening, with nearly 100% of the precincts reporting, the ANC has 34.53% of the vote, so 1/3, with 1,336,712 votes. The Democratic Alliance did very well here. If they'd only done this nationally, they would be in a much stronger position. 27.34% of the vote in Gauteng, 1,058,000. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the population of Gauteng is not 27% white. Do the math. All these liars, and I'm not supporting or defending the DA, but I just like the facts and the truth. People keep saying the DA is a white party. I keep telling them that there's no such thing. It's a very racially balanced party. And in fact, you will see that the vast majority of the voters in Gauteng were not white. Odds are they're mostly black. So the third largest party, trailing far behind, is the EFF with 500,000 votes, 500,320 votes. And this is where we expected Action SA to have a role and do very well. They did okay. MK did very well here. In the end, MK has 375,940 votes, or 9.71%. So MK will be ruling the roost in KZN provincial legislature, and they will be having an impact in Mpumalanga, and here they'll have an impact as well because of their numbers. So that's interesting. So it's KZN and Gauteng that matter the most, though they're the most populous provinces in South Africa. Of course, KZN has the port of Durban, which is the most important port in this part of the continent. And then, of course, it feeds all of Southern Africa, goods in and out of there. And then also, it's the largest populations. And then Gauteng is the richest province in South Africa and one of the richest locations in the entire continent, financial center, and all sorts of business headquarters. So those two matter the most. And the MK has a strong presence in both of them. 45% in KZN and 9.71% here. Action SA, we thought would do reasonably well, but they came in line with what I thought they might be able to pull off nationally, but they failed to do. They did it here in Gauteng, the home of Herman Mashaba, the former mayor of Johannesburg, Mr. Fix-It, 156,068 votes, or 4.03% of the vote. The Freedom Front Plus did better here than they did anywhere else. Almost anywhere else, they have 2.47% of the vote, 95,460 votes. Almost half their votes came from Gauteng, which of course reinforces the point that the Boers largely live in the High Veld and in large numbers, and so that's probably where the votes came from. The Patriotic Alliance surprisingly got 2%, which is in line with their national total here, 82,000 votes. Rise Mzansi got 39,000. The IFP picked up 34,000 there. BOSA, Musi Maimani's project, 34,000. The ACDP, 29,000. And that pretty much rounds it out for Gauteng. We got just a little bit more to go here. The Free State, a traditional ANC stronghold, they held on to it. And I believe it was 52% last time. Yes, here it is, 52.56% is what they got it. The DA came in a good second place with 21.52%. And then the EFF at 13%. Once again, it's broken up geographically. And for those who are new to the program and just tuning in, wondering why I'm not showing this, it's because I don't have the capability. I'm not in my studio at home. I'm using my mobile phone to broadcast, and my laptop, it just doesn't work to do. I can't do both on here. But anyway, so normally I would put these things on the screen. You'll be able to see them, and so I'm reading them to you. So I apologize for the graphics that you're not able to see that. If that disturbs you, it's not the normal way I do business. So in the Free State, and let's go back to the top of the list here. Cope, Cope is dead. ANC, 433,000 votes, 52% of them. And then the DA, 177,000. The EFF, 115,000. The Freedom Front Plus, this is actually their best performance, actually, I should say, percentage-wise. 25,544 votes, or 3.1%. I haven't seen them get that high anywhere. So if they could have got that nationally, that would have been fantastic. But they did. MK got 2%, PA 1%, and then Action SA even got 0.5% there. So that takes care of the Free State. We only got a couple left. Eastern Cape, predominantly, overwhelmingly ANC area, and it's going to come in very strong for the ANC. Let's see the results when they come up here in just a moment. Hello, McFly. Reload the Free State. That is the Free State. Oh, Eastern Cape, excuse me. Oh, it keeps picking Eastern Cape. There we go, Free State. All right, so 235 people right now, 137 likes. If you're not a subscriber, please become one. Feel free to join the conversation if you like. Ask questions. All right, so in the Eastern Cape, the ANC 62.52% in unassailable position. Another province where they got 1 million votes, 1,100,618 votes. Democratic Alliance did better than they usually do, slightly. 14.78%, 262,000 votes. EFF, 10.16, 180,392. But once again, this is a province with lots of geographic spaces controlled by the Democratic Alliance, most controlled by the ANC, a few by the PA, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 controlled by the PA, and I think 3 or 4 controlled by the EFF. So, yeah, so the top parties, the ANC, DA, EFF, UDM. This is the home base, Eastern, what used to be the Transkei for Bantu Holomisa and the UDM, United Democratic Movement. And they got 3.56% of the vote here, 63,000. Fully 80% of their votes came from Eastern Cape, which is not a surprise, but they needed a lot more. Remember, this is a party that once upon a time got 700,000 in election, and they're down to 78,000 now. MK got 26,000 here. So the Freedom Front Plus picked up 9,000 total votes. And just one place left. No, that's it. That's all of them. So let's go back to the national, and then we'll get back to some analysis here. So once again, we'll double check to make sure that we are finished 99.82%. We are now at 249. It's 292. So that's 43 polling locations still, or districts yet to report their numbers in. So as I point out, a few in the Free State and several in Gauteng, which could change these numbers slightly. But the bottom line is ANC is not going to go above 40%. They're not going to hit 41. The DAs might go to 22, but that's going to be it. That depends how they do in Gauteng. And the MK party could still gain here. This is fascinating stuff. But once again, the demands are to be made. Coalition talk is already underway. They have 14 days to form a government. So the ANC is looking for coalition partners by their own volition. They've said that. Wayne and Mantasha, and then a few others, senior people in the party, including the Assistant Secretary General of the ANC, have said that they're in negotiations. They're already discussing. And the Freedom Plus, or not Freedom Plus, the Economic Freedom Fighters have already laid their demands on the table. They have demanded the finance ministry position for none other than Mr. VBS himself, Floyd Shivambu. We talked earlier about Julius Malema saying that Floyd is the best qualified person for the job. That's what he said. I'm not making it up, folks. I am not making it up. True statement. True statement. Anyway, you gotta love it. You gotta absolutely love it. It's insane. Absolutely insane. So we'll see what demands the Patriotic Alliance has. Let's put this in context here, okay? The ANC, if it wants to stay in government, needs coalition partners. It can go into a coalition with one party and be done with it, and that is MK. And so how do they do that? Well, they're going to have assurances that Jacob Zuma will no longer be prosecuted for the arms deal. I don't know how you get out of that. He's been charged with a crime, and it has to go. So I guess the president can give him amnesty, but you don't have a president. So how do you do that? So they want assurances that Zuma will not be prosecuted. They're going to want the deputy president position for sure, if not the presidency. We'll see what happens there. So the MK is in a very strong position to demand whatever they want from the ANC. The ANC is in a weak position to deny them. Their best option is to not go into a coalition with MK, Sizwe. That leaves the EFF. And guess what? The EFF and the ANC have come in under 50% together, which is what I said is likely to happen. So the EFF 9.5, the ANC 40.19. If that doesn't change much, that means it's 49.7, so 0.3% short. Now, they'll break up based on proportional representation and the direct voting, so I don't know, but it should come out that the EFF and the ANC cannot come to a coalition and rule. They should be short one or two ministers, so they'll be not able to do that. The other options, ANC could add a few partners. The Democratic Alliance, of course, federal chairperson Helen Zille is quoted in the IOL as saying that that's something that could be considered, coalition with the ANC, and a lot of people are talking about it. Today, the multi-party charter leaders from the UIM, the Action SA, Freedom Front Plus, the DA, all these parties, the Spectrum National Party for Christopher Claessens, all of them are supposed to have met today, Saturday. Obviously, they missed the Stormers game. are supposed to meet to discuss where to go forward here. I believe at that meeting what's probably going to be discussed is, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if we want to rule, if we want to have an impact on this government, we're going to have to do a little bit of mea culpa here. And if they do that, the Democratic Alliance gets multi-party charter parties to agree to that idea, because they're not a coalition, they just like-minded parties, then the DA could credibly enter into a coalition government with the ANC, bringing along others like the UIM, the IFP, especially Action SA. That would make a big difference. And it is significant that the UDM, and the Patriotic Alliance did not join the multi-party charter. Not because it makes the charter stronger, but because they have nothing to stand on. The UDM can't even bring 1% of the vote to the ANC, so they're not going to need them. And plus, they don't like General Holomisa because he's a rational person and he's always mediating the stupidity between the ANC and others. So they're not going to do that, most likely. And then the other piece of this is sorry, the ANC, so I need a drink here. I got lost there for a second here. The Patriotic Alliance only has 2%. So the Patriotic Alliance with 2% cannot help the ANC. So you take the 41% plus the 2.06, gives them 42.8%, and that's not enough. That's not even 43%. They're still short. So the Patriotic Alliance is not enough. The IFP could come in there if they want to do it. This flag doesn't want to play nice. So The IFP could join then, but that's just another 3.86%. So that takes them up to almost 46%. They're still short. Action SA come in at 47, but these are parties unlikely to do that. So the most likely situation here is either, and people are arguing against this, they're commenting my videos, they're welcome to do it, I appreciate your input, but a lot of people are saying there's no way that the ANC goes in coalition with the DA. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you that those in the know, and I know some very powerful people in this country, those in the know believe that there are still legitimate people in the ANC who are capable. They've just been quiet for far too long. And they may step forward now to demand that good behavior take place. If they want to save the country, if they want to save the ANC's reputation, if the ANC wants to ever govern in the future, then they're going to argue that the smart money is to go with a rational party, the Democratic Alliance, and go into a coalition. However, if the DA goes by itself into coalition with the ANC, it will shed voters in the next election. There will be easily 500,000 of its voters who will disappear, if not more, because they'll be angry about going into a coalition with the ANC. If they decide to do that, the smartest move is to bring the multi-party charter members with them, which is one of the coalition scenarios that I analyzed and projected back 2 months ago. Remember, I had the Armageddon scenario, that's ANC, EFF, MK, and all this hinged on how well the ANC did. The ANC did poorly. 40% is a terrible outcome for them. I would have prayed they came to 33%, but that was a pipe dream. But I did predict 38 to 42. And so I made my analysis off of that prediction and off of the eventualities and slightly changed the numbers. So the Grand Coalition, which will bring the multi-party charter along with the ANC, will give them what they need. The ANC has 40%, the DA has 22%. That's 62% between the two of them. Not enough to change the Constitution, which is good. But they can easily bring the IFP in, that gives them 66%. Then they can bring Action SA, that gives them 67%. And you see where they're at now. And there's the UIM and smaller parties that are part of that coalition that could all come in. But what you will do in that circumstance, ladies and gentlemen, if that actually happens, this is what they're going to have to do. First off, it's a no-brainer, no ANC candidate for president in Parliament. None. You are in a coalition because you failed. It's not your turn to lead, it's someone else's turn. The DA cannot put forward John Steenhuisen with any credibility. The ANC will revolt, as will a lot of people in public. So the DA should not put forward a candidate, unless they want to do Helen Zille. That'll really piss everybody off. So where do you get the candidate from? Well, the UDM doesn't have many votes, and they didn't join the multi-party charter. So they will find themselves sitting in the cold, most likely, in this scenario. Where do they come from? Well, the Freedom Front Plus could put forward somebody. Almost all their members are white, and while there's nothing wrong with being white and being the president, Zambia had a white president, post-colonial Zambia, independent Zambia, but it's just not going to fly very well. It'll be a distraction. It's unnecessary. There are qualified people who are not white who could do it. So Freedom Front Plus probably not going to provide it. So what does that leave? The best option, which I've said all along, and a very real possibility, which I alluded to when I interviewed him recently, is Velenkotsini Hlabisa, the president of the Inkatha Freedom Party, a man who was mentored by none other than Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi for years. He taught him. He helped him come up in the world politically and understand how coalitions work, how government works, how politics works. So he's a rational, stable person. He's a Zulu, and he could very well go. Him becoming president is unlikely to lead to a Zulu revolt of any sort. I'm not saying there's going to be a revolt, but the Zulu people probably will not take umbrage to the fact that Velenkotsini Hlabisa becomes the president. So I'm not saying he's going to become the president. What I'm saying is there's a very real possibility in a rational grand coalition that this is what could unfold. So you're not going to see other members of the multi-party charter do anything. The 4%, almost 4% of the IFP brings to the table makes them a player. So he's coming with over 500,000 votes. So that means something, 617,000. Anyway, so that's the possibility there. But we're already hearing demands. We'll hear this, and I'll report all of the rumors that I find, and I'll say whether there's any merit to them or whether you can dismiss them out of hand. I will tell you this now. Floyd Shivambu will not be the finance minister. You can tell me if I get it wrong, come back and I'll eat my humble pie. But Floyd Shivambu will not be the finance minister in this country going forward. Just not going to happen, folks. Not going to happen. All right, so the ANC is dumb, but they ain't that dumb. And they have while while they think they're in charge, they're not, but they do hold some powerful cards with 40% of the vote. But here, this is something analysts aren't talking about, and I've been talking about endlessly. So let me refresh this. Early on, when I was going to polling stations, Somerset West, 5 stations in Kailicha, then Monenberg, Rondobosch, Sea Point, Woodbridge Primary, Parklands, and then finally Tableview. When I went to all those polling stations, there was an impression at the polling stations that there was a huge turnout in many of them. And that was further fueled by the IEC publicly putting out that they were seeing a large turnout and they expected a larger turnout in 2019. Well, that's a joke. This is an abysmal turnout. Just 58% of the registered population, that's not even the eligible population, 58% of the 27 million showed up. Only 15 million people voted. This is insanely low. Here's another way to put this in perspective. The ANC got nearly 12 million votes in 1994 in a country of 34 million people. Today, in a country of 63 million people, the ANC could only get 6,400,000. Now, we don't have to go back 30 years to see how bad a performance is. We can go back 5 years to 2019. In 2019, the ANC got 10,400,000 votes. This time, 5 years later, the ANC, load shedding, Pala Pala, Digital Vibes, Nkandla, the insurrection, July 2021, Vreda Dairy Farm, the asbestos tender, Zandili Gumeda, shall I continue? This ANC, 300 days of load shedding last year, more than that, manipulating the prices of fuel, no refineries, open briefly. Now we have the refinery here in Cape Town open again, and the government trying to buy a refinery in KwaZulu-Natal and Durban, which has been shut down for 2.5 years. Despite all their failures, the roads are torn up, 90 murders per day on average now, gender-based violence off the chart. Despite all of that, the ANC still gets 6.4 million. But that 6.4 million is 4 million votes less than in 2019. Like I said, we don't have to go back to 1994, we can just go to 2019. So in 2014, they had 10.6. Anyway, the point here is that they lost 4 million from 2019 to 2024. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. So the 40% we're seeing is what means they'll get in parliament. But that is a disastrous outcome. They're going to lose like 78 seats. It is going to be weird for them not to just be able to rule the roost at parliament, but they won't because they're abject failures. They've betrayed the liberation struggle. They've lied about history. They've become race hustlers. The ANC's become a party of black supremacy. Look at the 200 candidates on their list. How many whiteys are there? Huh? Do you see any Afrikaners? Do you see any Portuguese South Africans? I don't see them. Very few. There's a handful. And it used to be a much more racially diverse party with colors and Indians, and whites, Jews, and Christians. Not the case anymore. So that's the situation with the ANC. Now the DA, I haven't read much what the DA said, but I'm sure I know what the DA said. You guys can tell me in the chat. I'm pretty much going to guarantee the DA is saying that we've done well in this election. We retained the Western Cape. You did. But then I predicted you retain the Western Cape with 52%. So I'm not surprised. A lot of pundits were telling me I was wrong once again. And look, I mean, I can easily be wrong in these predictions, but they weren't just 52%. It's actually looking at historic data. It's looking at the voter base, looking at trends, looking at things going on, them making an informed analysis and making a projection, which is still a crapshoot, even if you're informed. But I guess my methodology is working out pretty well. So congratulations, DA. They retain the Western Cape. They don't need a coalition to rule, and they'll continue to have Alan Winde there most likely. And the hot wind in the Western Cape will continue to blow over Cape Town, Alan Winde. So, and so that's the situation there. But nationally, the Democratic Alliance lost votes again. Now, the number they lost has been reduced because votes coming in late. But in 2014, they got 4,004,000 votes when Helen Zillow was running the party, and the DA was on a steep glide path to ascendancy. 2019, under Musi Maimani, they dropped to 3,600,000. This time around, they're just approaching 3,500,000. So they've lost votes, and people argue they lost them to the PA. Perhaps that's some of it. But the bottom line is they have not increased their position, percentage-wise or numerically. They've gone in reverse numerically, and they've gone slightly higher percentage-wise. That's not impressive. That's not good. They will have a large voice in Gauteng, and they will, of course, rule the Western Cape. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very real possibility that, as I've said before this all happened, that the ANC will no longer rule in Gauteng, in KZN, and in the Western Cape. And it came close, not too close, but close to being the case in Northern Province, where they got just 49.8%, and in Mpumalanga, where MK cleaned their clock in the southern portion of Mpumalanga. So that's the situation at this hour on Saturday, June 1st, 2024. It's not pretty, it's not good, but it's not the end of the world, folks. Don't sell your condo. Don't burn your farm. don't despair. Look, I was at Exclusive today, and I picked up some books, and I also saw something there which I can't share because the phone, it's on here, but I did post on Twitter the bestseller list of Exclusive books, because CNA really doesn't do books anymore. The few stores that were open last time I was here, but Exclusive books, the number one bestsellers. Number 13 is a book on successfully emigrating from South Africa. How sad is that? That a best-selling book is how you can get the hell out of the country. That's very disappointing. But I did pick up these books. This one's called Bullshit, 50 Fibs That Made South Africa by Jonathan Answer. So that looks interesting. I'll start reading that when I get a chance. So whenever I come to South Africa, I get tons of books to fill up my suitcases. And then two more books here, one of which I've been curious about this for a long time. I know some of it, but I wasn't there, and I don't have access to classified information, unfortunately. But the Battle of Bangui, the inside story of South Africa's worst military scandal since apartheid. I don't know if it's the worst military scandal, but it certainly was a big scandal in Bangui when those soldiers were killed and they were attacked by rebels and the ANC. The question was, what are they doing in Central Republic? Hopefully this book will explain it. 3 authors on that. And then finally, this book, if you watch my channel, you will remember that I interviewed Dr. John Laban about Zulu. He's one of the preeminent historians of the Zulu era and the history of the Zulu. So he also wrote this book that came out prior to his most recent Zulu book. It's called The Land Wars, the dispossession of the Khoisan and the Amakosa in the Cape Colony. So John Laban, a very thoughtful scholar, interesting gentleman. So I picked this up, and I'll probably read this when I get back home. But that's 3 books I picked up today, and I'll tell you about them as I read them. And hopefully they'll be interesting. So there you have it. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done it, folks. Let me get back to the chat and see what people are saying. It's been a while I've been going on here talking about the election, but people came to hear the election analysis, and so I want to make sure I got some of that. Right, so let me jump back here. Let me go back a ways. It is currently 9:02, so let me go back about 20 minutes. Oh, there we go. All right, so Charles Van Onsland's here, Slippery Pickle Maiden, Matt Canali. Galawango Mohammed. Hi from Uganda. Hey, Galawango from Uganda. Welcome in here. I used to live in Uganda. Yes. Yep, I lived not too far from Kabalagala, just up the street from Kabalagala in Kampala. Yep, and I worked with the Ugandan People's Defense Force. And of course, I knew the current commander, Mohammed, what was his name there? The Karinga, the guy who's the son of Museveni, and I knew Museveni as well. So, welcome from Uganda. Appreciate you being here. Be sure to hit the like button. Hopefully, you'll become a subscriber. Pierre Orban, Charles Van Onsland, the voice of reason on the channel. Dylan Comrick says, "Isn't Limpopo place? They only got a few grass patches." And Donga's welcome, Galawango. There you go. What else? Biggest Malawi export weeds. That's actually not true. Is that true? Dan Bailey says, okay, you guys are chatting back and forth. Any coalition will come with high demands and doubt any party will grant anything. Yes, but they'll have to work it out in the end, or they'll just have to go forward without one. Hank Klopper says, Zoli's made their voice count. Ace for KZN Minister of the Dairy. Well, look, I've got some cabinet predictions here, not predictions, but recommendations. So I'd recommend Zwelin Kizi to be the Minister of Pharmacies, Joe Pala to be the Minister of Dairy Farms. You know, come on. The ancestors voted in KZN. Well, they do that in Chicago too. Nonga says, why did the minority in the Western propagandists peddle the falsehood that the ANC EFF is a doomsday coalition, that only the VA is the savior? Well, no, Ndonga. So I don't know what you're talking about. First off, I've never said that. I have said that the ANC and the EFF MK is a disaster. I mean, first off, let's just be clear. The ANC is already a disaster. Load shedding, murders, gender-based violence, black-based economic empowerment, enriching the connected and not black Africans. Yeah, the list goes on and on. The destruction of the infrastructure, the kleptocracy underway by the ANC. So the ANC itself is already a failure. So in order to have a government that's going to work, you're going to need parties that are going to mitigate that. But the reality is this, and Don, you know as well as I do. You know as well as I do. The economic freedom fighters are simply the bum-hurt ANC Youth League, who under when Jacob Zuma was president, Julius Malema, Zuma, I will die for Zuma, I will die for Zuma. And then when he got in trouble, Zuma's evil, and he got kicked out of the ANC. So he left and formed his own party, supported by rich, corrupt individuals who don't disclose their financial contributions in violation of the law. And he got his own party. And so the EFF is simply the ANC. And they have the same communist, fascist, totalitarian policies. Expropriation without compensation, immoral, unconstitutional, illegal. They also want the state to control everything. But the EFF wants the state to own the land, not you and I own the land, whether you're black or white. They want the state to take possession of the land. So they disagree on that. And then finally, MK is simply a cult of personality for the bum-hurt Zulu whose feelings were hurt because Jacob Zuma is a criminal. They just can't cotton to that. So, of course, it's a coalition of consequences. So what's going to happen here is that Malema is running his mouth about Floyd Shivambu will prove to be watching the ANC and we'll have a speaker to make sure they don't do anything wrong. Are you serious? Are you serious? Floyd Shivambu? That's like putting a fox in the hen house so he can eat the chickens. That's just stupid. Foxes don't guard chickens. Dogs don't guard chickens. Fences guard chickens. And Floyd Shivambu in charge of finance is disaster. So yes, it is a doomsday. DA is not the solution. I never said they were. The DA is a leftist political party that believes in state control. And they are perfectly fine telling you to get the jab in violation of your human rights. They're perfectly fine in governments running Transcom, that's the U.S. military, Transnet, and Post Office, and SAA, and Airports Company South Africa, and the list goes on and on. The DA likes that. So they're not the savior, but they have enough honest people who won't steal and are competent that could mitigate and keep things going for South Africa. Devet Martins is back. Hey, guess the percentage of peaceful democratic handovers elections in Africa. Well, the percentage, I don't know the percentage, but I can run through a whole bunch of countries where it's happened repeatedly. Senegal has had one election after another peaceful. Botswana, every election has been peaceful. Comoros, not so peaceful, 23 coups or coup attempts. We've got so many of them peaceful. So percentage though, I don't know. What is it? 9% maybe? All right. So are you talking about from one political party to another? If that's the case, it's never happened in Botswana, and it rarely happens. Ghana, it's happened. That's one of the few cases. And Ghana and Liberia have both had that peaceful transition, as well as Nigeria. So that's three countries, all in the recent past. All right. What else we got here? Slippery Pittman says, call BS and ACP for this doesn't make sense. They have more voters than that in Durban. Well, Slippery Pickle, I don't know what to say about that. There's a lot of umbrage about KZN vote totals. Yep. KZN people voted right. Let's respect their choice. That's democracy 101. Yeah, Mndonga, you're saying that, but MK is arguing for a recount there, not ACDP. So are you agreeing that the MK party is wrong to call for a recount in KwaZulu-Natal, Mndonga? All right, you said it a long time ago. So Chris Pappas must be withdrawn from KZN and be better utilized in Parliament. Thoughts? No, I think Chris Pappas should remain the mayor of Mgeni, a city that he's fixing, and because he's bringing joy, prosperity, safety, and reliable governance to the people of Mgeni. He can stay there, finish his term, and then they can put him in Parliament if they want. This is the problem. You just appoint people. I don't like that. The Zulu must listen to the real king, not the one Ramaphosa appointed. Well, there's a debate about whether he's the real king. So ANC messed up in South Africa. Why will ANC MK? Exactly. They were the ANC in 1994, so they're all part of the problem. Exactly right. And Donga is denying that reality. ANC, MK, EFF, the same. And throwing cope. Birds of a feather, they're the same damn people. They just changed their names. I am Heinz. We'll be visiting Pretoria. Of course I'll be visiting Pretoria. It's my favorite place in South Africa. The High Veld, Pretoria, my absolute favorite place in South Africa. I will be there, of course. I can go to Pretoria, I can speak Afrikaans, I can speak English, I can speak Tswana, and everybody understands me. So, well, maybe not my German accent in Afrikaans, but yes, I will be going there. Lori Lehtinen is in tonight from Finland. Good evening, peeps. Congrats, Nancy, going both 50%. I just booked tickets for Cape Town for September. Excellent. All right, Lori, cool beans. Well, I'm not sure where I'll be in September, but in November I'll probably be in the UK for the Springbok tour. D is trying to expand the voting base in KZN, and hence Chris Pappas. Should he manage to turn things around, he will go to Parliament next. What else? King Dog, come on Lions. The Lions lost, brother, and they're out of it. It's unfortunate for them. But the real problem was if the Osprey hadn't got 4 tries, so their opponent let us down. Okay, how do I tag you like you tag me? Oh, Erica. I don't know what happened there. So, and Dong actually says something correct here. He says that the MK vote in KZN is just an internal rebellion within the ANC. Correct. Well done, Donga. You've got that spot on. And who else we got here? Anonymous Lex. I will vote PA next if Mackenzie's not all about power. Align a lot with my political view, especially immigration. Not immigration, you mean immigrants. Yeah. Sean's, okay, so Patrick Vianello's back here said, well, I know there was a Freedom Front Plus vote for the Eastern Cape since I live in the PE area. The PA would have gotten votes in our northern areas, mainly colored. Okay. Yeah, there's no way that Rama the sellout will survive this heavy electoral loss. First NEC meeting, the knives will be out for him. Yeah, no, they should be. So look, these are the people that should be gone. These are the people that should be gone. Done. Done and dusted. We shouldn't hear any more from them when it comes to this stuff. Cyril Ramaphosa, John Steenhuisen, Julius Malema, all 3 should be gone. All 3 of their parties underperformed. All right, so beyond that, Patricia DeLille, Musi Maimani, and the guy from Rise Mzansi too, all gone. Now, you can make the argument about UIM and Yildirim being gone, although that party has performed better than people expected, not as well as they claimed they wanted to do, but they've done better than expected. And I don't know that the Freedom Front Plus anything is solved by changing leadership. They have the right leadership. They just didn't have any success in this election. So, but those other folks should be gone. But they won't be. They won't be. It's South Africa. People fail and they stay there forever. Hope the rest of your trip goes smoothly, says Dylan. Well, I hope so too. Tomorrow I will be going to Belleville, having coffee with some of my viewers, so a mini meet and greet. And then in the afternoon, I'll be going to Betty's Bay. And in Pringle Bay tomorrow night, I called the restaurant, but they didn't answer the damn phone. They say they're open until 10. Well, that was yesterday. I hope they're open until 10 on Sunday. Tomorrow afternoon, probably 4 o'clock. I think I said 5 originally, but I'll probably change it to 4 since my meeting tomorrow is earlier. Pringle Bay will be meeting at the Burger Bar, and I'll do a meet and greet poster tonight. I'll post that inside of the WhatsApp group. People can share that on social media and come join us tomorrow if you want for a get-together. We had a nice Lecker meet and greet last night at Kapstadt Brauhaus over there in Blaubergstrand. People are getting a kick out of my German pronunciation of Afrikaans, and yeah, that's just it. But German is my second language, so. ANC, DA, end of story, Hendo says. Yeah, I think that's looking more likely. The PA's main demand is home affairs, which I support, says Anonymous Lex. Okay? All right. Yeah, Zuma is a convicted criminal. Yes, that's true. Convicted in many ways. So Leon says, I don't think the NPC members perform well enough for it to make any meaningful difference anywhere except for your Grand Coalition. Leon, you're 100% correct. They didn't. They did. The only one who performed well, in my book, from the NPC was the IFP on a percentage basis, but not raw vote total, but a percentage. They've got 3%, which is 3 to 5%. 5 would have been optimal, but yeah. So they didn't. But the problem is this: if I'm a DA voter, and the DA goes into coalition with the ANC after telling me they weren't going to do it, and they had this whole brouhaha about the Moonshot Pact and the I would never trust them, and I would vote against them, and I would actually campaign against them every time afterwards. However, if for the good of the country, they get MPC members to agree that they all should go into coalition and work together for the country, which will be fractious. But anyway, if they did that, they won't lose as many voters because people will be more understanding. But if they just go on their own, they're toast. All right, so DA will only come in if Rama, no, that's not true. That's not true. Gwede Montasha is talking to Helen Zilla as we speak. So don't your analysis. You're welcome to that, but it's just not going to happen. It's not going to come out that way. Kurt says, still we have a useless minister of police like Beckett Chile. Well, that has to be a hard line thing. He's got to go. The EFF, if they go in, they got to demand that. The DA's got to demand that. He has no cabinet position. He shouldn't even be in Parliament. He should be in jail, actually. Yeah. Peter Chernovat today said the MPC agreement has ceased. It was a pre-election agreement if they reach 50+1. That's a true statement, Sean. That's a true statement. However, many of the MPC members are on record, even this week before the election, saying under no circumstances would they go in a coalition with the ANC. The IFP said that. They repeated it 3 or 4 times before the election this week. And they're not alone. The UIM said the same thing. The DA said the same thing by John Steenhuisen, and then Helen Zillis appears to have contradicted him. So, yeah, the MPC was not a coalition. It was never a coalition. I reported accurately on that when I was in Kempton Park reporting on the formation of the MPC. It was a pre-election pact to work together and get the best results. They would consider a coalition. They were supposed to have met today, and then based on what they tell us out of that, we would know whether they go forward or they part ways. So, axis of evil. Yep. Anonymous Lex says, Hunter claimed the DA stole votes in the Western Cape. Would not trust Freedom Front with a stick if they turn their backs on the partner so quick. Well, Anonymous Lex, you probably need to have a deeper understanding of the relationship between the DA and the Freedom Front Plus. It's very fractious. You have DA members actively undermining the Freedom Front Plus in every election, speaking ill of them on social media and telling people not to vote for them and making false claims about things the DA claims they accomplished when actually it was only possible because of coalition with the Freedom Front Plus, which got them the votes in places in the Western Cape and elsewhere that allowed them to actually govern and govern in a good fashion. So the DA has continually disrespected and disregarded the Freedom Front Plus because, like many folks, they come from a position of bigotry in which they see Constantine Fillon and the Freedom Front in 1994, not the Freedom Front Plus in 2024, 30 years later under Peter Chernovat. So you are correct, Anonymous Lex, but I think you need a little more information in order to make that decision. It's your prerogative to make that decision, but the bottom line is that the Freedom Front Plus has been disrespected, mistreated, maltreated by its partner, the DA, not the other way around. Not the other way around. So, okay. I am Heinz, ANC and the AFF, same. Yes, it is. Green Phantom's here. DA Western Cape did way better than I thought they would. Not me, Phantom. Not me. I said 52%, and they're a little bit above that. Actually, they were at 55% early in the day, and I thought, well, my prediction was off by 3 points, but now it's right back on the money as the rest of the votes came in. Monique Robinson says, our safest bet is to keep Rama in coalition with the DA. If they throw Rama out, we're doomed. Anyone here know who the replacement would be? I can't remember the name. Well, we're not doomed. There's a very viable leader of the ANC in a coalition government with the DA who is a reasonable person who's actually been president of South Africa. No, I'm not talking about Thabo, small ego, fragile ego, and Becky. No. Molantla is the guy. That's the guy you bring back. Yeah, and there's other options. Trevor Manuel, dig him up. It's another option. Yep. So the ANC does have some people who are competent and have the right resonance to be. But again, they shouldn't be president. They should just be leader of the party. So we're not screwed if Ramaphosa is gone. Ramaphosa is a disaster. He's a bigger criminal. He's a bigger net drag on the country of South Africa than Jacob Zuma ever was. More was stolen on Ramaphosa's watch than was ever imaginable under state capture. Folks, they keep blaming Jacob Zuma, whom I'm not a fan of, for the state capture error, and they're right to do that. But who is his deputy president? Who sat right next to him while the looting took place year after year? Cyril Ramaphosa. Who has been the president during PPE theft, during the COVID scam, during the political lockdown? Cyril Ramaphosa. Who has been the president when nobody gets prosecuted for the pervasive corruption? Who has been the president who promised $100 billion in foreign direct investment in his first term? Yet the net flow of capital out of South Africa exceeds that in the other direction. Cyril Ramaphosa. Who's the guy who's going to turn your medicine into communism? Cyril Ramaphosa. Who is the person who rejected expropriation without compensation year after year after year? Jacob Zuma. And who accepted it in Parliament and pushed for it and demanded it when he became president? Cyril Ramaphosa. Cyril Ramaphosa is the wart on your bum. Cyril Ramaphosa, Monique, is the problem. Cyril Ramaphosa is the biggest disaster, the worst president in the history. He is worse than frickin' Shaka Zulu. And Shaka Zulu murdered anybody who was a threat to him. Callously and without any regard for life. Cyril Ramaphosa is a cancer. People are fond of saying the ANC is a cancer because it's spelled right there in the word. But still, Ramaphosa is like a blood-sucking parasite leech on the bum of South Africa. So you're not screwed if Ramaphosa's gone. You're not screwed. You're screwed if he stays. But he might be able to be kept in a box. Pam Knoll put a comment in that she took it away. What's wrong with John? John who? John Steenhuisen? He failed. He failed. Just like Lucy Maimani, he should resign. The DA made no market improvement. They lost votes, over 100,000 votes from last time. And there's more voters, and they lost votes. John Steenhuisen failed. But the DA's already got his propaganda machine up and spinning, turning this into we did better than people thought we would do. We were under assault. So tomorrow I'll be in Ronaldo's program at 7 p.m. and we'll talk about this. Ronaldo, of course, is a Democratic Alliance member from Port Elizabeth, and he's on the council there, and he was one of the candidates for office. I don't know if they'll get enough votes for Ronaldo to go in, because the DA is actually going to get more seats in Parliament. They're going to get more seats in Parliament. Isn't that funny? At least according, just a couple more seats. So, but no, John Steenhuisen's failed. And, you know, in politics, if your party fails to do anything, you're supposed to resign. So, Pam Knoll says IFP president. I missed something there. Yeah, under MK, there'll be more corruption, yeah. All right, if the DA goes in coalition with ANC, they'll get less votes than any other party next election. Sandy Hunt says rather DA and ANC than any other options. Just worried about how Zuma supporters will react. Them and EFF like to burn stuff. Yeah, they do. Sandy, you make a very good point. Very good point. Yeah. Yes. What's wrong with John? There's adversity. There's a reluctance, a reticence by government members of parliament to elect a white man or white woman to be president. It's just a statement of truth. All right, Shalombo can't be finance minister. Yeah, exactly. I've said that, Hendo. Okay. All right, 157 likes. I've got 203. That's pretty cool. Bertus Ehlers says ANC will take presidency as they are the leading party. DA preaches that as we are governing now, how people vote, no matter how uninformed people are. Well, Bertus, that's your projection, that's your estimate, and I'll tell you that you could be very well correct, but the smart money is that's not the case. The ANC doesn't have majority. So in 1994, the ANC got 62% of the vote. They welcomed the National Party into a government of national unity in a coalition, and they had two deputy presidents. They created two positions. They had Thabo Mbeki and they had F.W. de Klerk as a sign of reconciliation. And they governed in that fashion for a while. But the ANC was in a position of strength. They're not in a position of strength now. They cannot govern without help, except as a minority party, which can get nothing passed. They will never get their president as a minority party passed. The EFF, MK, DA will not vote for whoever's there. And most of the other parties won't vote either, unless they're given some. So they won't get Ramaphosa or anyone else in as president unless they work a deal out. And the deal is going to be to give that to a smaller party who brought enough votes to the table to make it credible and is capable, but neither the DA or the ANC should be leading that. ANC, EFF, South Africa downfall, ANC, DA war. Now, I think the first part is true, but the second assessment there, FW Sweden, is not. ANC, DA does not mean war necessarily. ANC took away our beer and cigarettes, your open-toed shoes, your cooked chicken. They took away everything. They are ghouls. They burnt Parliament down. That's right, because they didn't guard it. So they're responsible for the burning of Parliament, an iconic historic building. The Cape Town UCT library destroyed. Historic documents going back centuries destroyed because they're piss poor funding of fire services here. Now, if Paulie's still here, he can contradict me. Paulie was down here when the fire was going. He lived in Gauteng at the time. It flew home while the fires were burning. Yes, ANC is load shedding votes. That's right. Yep, a federal system would work, but maybe too complicated for Africa. No, not really. No political leader that takes his party from 57 to 40 within 5 years survives. True to form, Raman must go, otherwise he dragged. Yes, Ndonga, you're speaking wise words tonight, and thank you for easing off the comments that were inappropriate, and we're glad we didn't censor you. Yeah, you were speaking, that's smart. Just shows how much BS each party can talk. Exactly, Ken. And they all said they're all going to get, you know, the EFF, not EFF, the MK, we're getting 67%. No, you got 14.5%. CK Gaming says if 100% of the registered voters actually voted, then they would have been out of power, sadly. Yep, that's correct. Yep. If MK was not formed, the ANC will have 50. Nope, not true, Hank. Not true. And I'm going to dispel that right now because a lot of people are saying that. Not true. Not true. Not true. Because I'll tell you why. We have no way of knowing what those 2.3 million people would have done. What I can tell you is the following. The ANC had 10.4 million last time at 57% of the vote. They didn't retain that. They lost 4 million voters. MK only got 2.3 million. So they lost 1.7 million on top of that, assuming that all votes for MK came from ANC, but they didn't. MK took votes from everybody, but especially from the EFF. At least 500,000 voters from EFF disappeared, and they likely went to MK. And if they took 500,000 of their 2.3, that means 1.8 million came from the ANC, potentially, let's say 1.5 million, but they lost 4 million votes. So we don't know how those people would have voted. We also don't know, more importantly, whether they would have voted at all. Remember, in the municipal elections of 2021, after the July insurrection, when Zuma didn't go to jail and then eventually went to escort, the turnout was abysmally low, and the ANC gave up municipality after municipality. The IP gained 15 municipalities despite gaining just 2% more vote because their number was holding steady while the ANC cratered. So a lot of those people didn't vote in 2021 for municipal election, voted this time for MK. If MK wasn't there, they would not have voted. And I bet you that's a plurality, if not a majority of the people who voted for MK are people who haven't been voting. They've come back to the fold to vote for MK because of the cult of personality for Jacob Zuma. So I would disagree on that assessment, Hank. All right, so what else? Exactly what John Steenhuisen said. What's that? What I just said? Many voters intimidated by the ruling party, if as well as MK, their houses are threatened. Yeah, that happens too. DA said they did all that. He said exactly what I said. DA said they did win consolidated position, even expanding marginally. Yeah, again, I don't agree with them. So, people celebrated ANC lost support to an outsider. No, they didn't lose support to an outsider. The cult of personality coalesced around Jacob Zuma, and probably 1 million people who didn't vote before voted, and a lot of people still stayed away from the polls. John Lamb says, bye-bye Pinocchio. Yes, wouldn't that be nice? Yep. No matter what we think of Zuma, he's a brilliant strategist, which makes him incredibly dangerous to us. Yes, Monique, you're correct. He's a clown, but he's a brilliant strategist. An alliance with MK or EFF is the end of our country. It's not just an option whether you like the day or not. It's the only opportunity to get us out of our mess. You're talking about whether I like it or someone else. You're taking the referendum party. Tertius Ferreira, well, they did very poorly. They did very poorly. So when I interviewed Phil Craig and then all the candidates, their objective was 100,000 votes in the Western Cape. That didn't happen, folks. They did say that if they got 10,000, that would be considered success, and I think that was a fair benchmark. 10,000 would be success, but they're not even there. So let's take a look at where they are in the national ballot. Let's go on the provincial ballot. Okay, let's do that. Let me reload because that's what matters. Provincial ballot for the Western Cape. I think they got like 4,000 or 5,000. Let's take a look. So provincial ballot, which is where they wanted to affect things in the Western Cape. It's reloading. Takes a moment here. So they got 5,110 votes. They're 1/4%. They wanted 100,000 votes in the Western Cape. That's 1/20th of what they hope to get. That to me, no umbrage, no attacks, nothing on the referendum party, but just on their stated goals, that's an abject disaster. It's a total disaster for them. They were hoping to get 100,000 votes. I thought that was unlikely. 10,000 seemed reasonable. They got 5,000. 5,110 votes, 1/4%, which means they won't even sit in the parliament, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how many seats you need to get a provincial seat, but I don't think they'll even get a seat now. So there you go. They don't even register. It's a blip, a fraction of 1%. That's total disaster for them. Now that raises the other question, ladies and gentlemen. That raises the other question. So what happens to the credibility of Cape Exit now? Because the Freedom Front Plus, Cape Exit itself, and our referendum party all attach themselves to this concept. And many people said it wasn't wise to, and including Cape Exit, said it wasn't wise to have a party that was a single issue party because then that issue is seen as unsuccessful if you don't win. Well, so what happens now? The next time that people talk, because there's no United Liberty Alliance, they're gone now. Now it's the United Cape States, which is weird. I'm going to talk to the guy in charge of that, Sean, whatever his name is. He's up in Gauteng. You've still got the Cape Exit and the Cape Independence Advocacy Group, but the Cape Independence Advocacy Group is the birthplace of the referendum party, and that has failed. So that leaves Cape exit. So how many people actually still want this? Who want a referendum for Cape secession? That may have put the nail in the coffin for the short term, maybe not permanently, for the secession movement in the Western Cape, the performance. Now, let's put this in other terms. The last time around, if I'm not mistaken, in 2019, in fact, I could check it. I think the Cape Independence Party of Jack Miller actually got 15,000, but they weren't on the ballot this time because they had a signature issue. So let's look at the last time in 2019, okay? So the ANC is actually, or the D is actually down. They had 55.45% last time in Western Cape. But let's go down and we'll find the Cape Independence Party. So let's see. Looking at there, Cape Exit had 9,331 votes in 2019 on the provincial ballot. 9,000. Cape Exit under Jack Miller got 9,331 votes. The referendum party got 5,110, half the number. And they had 40.45% of the ballot, so that was probably enough to get a seat in the provincial legislature. I don't know if they did or not, but anyway. So there you have it, folks. That's a huge difference there. Huge difference. So, yep. Anyway, does that answer the question? I hope that answers the question. Let me get back to the chat here very quickly. By the way, folks, thank you for your patronage. I appreciate it. I hope that this is a useful conversation for you, especially an outside objective voice coming from somewhere else. Yep. All right. So am I caught up in the chat? Sam Munko's back. Welcome, Sam. Ndonga says, black people love the liberation movement line parties. Nobody threatens me to vote ANC without ANC being power. Wouldn't have been a tax lawyer. Well, that's true, but that doesn't mean black people love them. You're making an assumption. I know plenty of black people that hate the ANC, and they're tired of hearing about the liberation movement who didn't participate in it. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember what Ian says. What does it actually mean for us common folk that the ANC won't get the majority vote? Well, it doesn't mean anything at the moment, Ian. It doesn't mean anything until we see what the future government looks like. If we get a future government in which lots of backroom dirty deals are made for ministry positions, for this and that, it could affect your life very directly, and it will affect your life. The ANC not taking over means that there's a chance to form a coalition that arrests and retards the kleptocracy and theft of the resources from the taxpayer and the citizens, and could potentially stop this disastrous concept of national health insurance and so many other things. However, the ANC is playing hardball, which they're not as firm ground to demand about any party that joins a coalition with them must agree to national health insurance. So it does affect you and common folk very directly. So, I mean, that's my short answer on that. Sedgefield says, only one man will be happily accepted by all. Mohan, people listen to wise men who speak, experience, wisdom. Well, it is a choice. It is a choice, yeah, you could pick him. Last time I checked, Zuma cannot be in Parliament, so would probably send his daughter. Yeah, his daughter's on the list. He can't go, you're correct. David Martinez, time-lapse maps of any region, change is the constant, new countries being created. It's forever the norm. Yep, and Henry says 161 likes. There you go. Just joking atheist here because I see Ndonga responding to him. He says that post doesn't work like that. Juju, Mozi, Shimambo, Mushili will be big fears. Yeah, well, okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 people accused of multiple crimes. Everyone you mentioned there is accused of a crime. Several should have been convicted if it wasn't for corrupt justice system in South Africa. So there you go. There's a WhatsApp chat. Is that the Hendo? Is that the Make South Africa Great WhatsApp group? Let me know if that is budget. It's all they want to build. Yeah, exactly. Best policy option for the ANC is they put forward a middle-of-the-road, level-headed leader with other political parties would find palatable. Well, the only people are going to be Molotlo or maybe Mohang, which was just mentioned here. So we'll see. Anyway, and Zanu Labaskatna. Who's Zanu Labaskatna? I'm not seeing these names in here. They're not showing up in my chat. That's interesting. All right, so let me take a look and see if any more information's come up or if we've got the updated results. Again, we were at nearly 100% earlier. Just a few, about 40 voting centers or districts have not reported. Looks like no change. I'm going to double check on that. So let me go to the National again, National Assembly, reload. All right, so 99.85%. Yeah, we're getting closer. They're slowly coming in. Tomorrow it should be completely done after tonight. So there's 256, 292. So that's 36 left. There's 36 left in the entire country of 23,292. There's just 36 voting precincts. Again, that one in the Free State yet to come in. It looks like Gauteng has mostly come in now. Mostly come in, so there's just a few districts, other places. And the updated numbers have not changed much, anything. The ANC still at 40.19. The DA is 21.81. They've climbed a little bit. MK is up to 14.59. EFF at 9.5, no change. IFP at 3.85, they dropped slightly. So pretty much standard stuff. Nothing's really changed there. Anyway, folks, for those who don't know me, just really quickly let you know who I am. Maybe it's just a lot of returning viewers. I'm Colonel Chris Wyatt, retired U.S. Army intelligence officer and someone with experience in multiple fields. I'm a published author in academic circles, published right here down the road by Stellenbosch University. And one of my publishers, and the other one, of course, is the Army War College. I speak 6 languages to varying degrees of proficiency, 3 fluently, and I understand a few more, but I don't really tell people that because I don't want to get caught in a conversation where I lose and get lost. I have lived all over the world, all over the United States. I grew up in abject poverty, fetching water from a cistern, living without electricity, using a generator to fire milk pumps in the morning for milking cows at 5 o'clock and 5:30 every day. I lived in Italy or Germany 3 times, Italy once, in Africa. I was stationed in Tunisia, Liberia, Botswana, Malawi, Nigeria, Mauritania, Uganda, and Ethiopia, where I worked at the African Union. I've hunted terrorists. I've built schools and clinics. I've run exercises, HIV, tuberculosis, malaria programs across the continent. I have become an energy industry analyst, experience as an analyst with epidemiology and infectious disease. I'm a rugby analyst and a huge rugby fan, have been since the 1980s. And I'm a Springboks fan, always have been. There was no U.S. national side when I became a rugby fan back in the 1980s. They formed after I became a fan. And I've been a Province fan ever since that time. And then later became a Stormers fan when they came into existence. Today was the Stormers game. Next week, I'll be at Loftus, where I'm a credentialed journalist at Loftus Versfeld, be covering the quarterfinal game, which we should know now who they're playing. Did I say? Oh, they play Benetton. That's right. They play Benetton. So Benetton will be traveling back to South Africa. I'm sure they're unhappy about that, but they are in the playoffs. Congratulations to them. I think one of their best seasons in a long time. And they haven't been in the playoffs since 2019, since before COVID. So congratulations to Benetton. All right. So that's a little bit about me. And I hope you find the content interesting. Please become a subscriber. It doesn't cost anything but a money time. I mean, it's so easy to become a subscriber. It's free. If you want to become a paying member and support journalism, I pay for my airfare, for my rental cars, for my petrol, all out of pocket. Occasionally, some people offer lodging when I travel in South Africa, which is helpful. It reduces my cost a bit, and I get to meet people and know them better, and I appreciate that. I'm grateful for it. And if people are offering that on this trip, we have a WhatsApp group called Make South Africa Great. All of my tours have a name, Make South Africa Great, FUTSEC ANC, that's this tour. The previous tour was the BRICS tour, another brick in the wall. When I came here to cover the BRICS Summit as accredited journalist, and then the multi-party charter. And the one before that was the High Veld tour, and the one before that was the I'm Not a Garden Boy tour. I'm Not a Garden Boy tour. That was, if you remember that one, that was a pretty funny one. So that's my tours. I'm here until June 25th, and I head back to the States. And so that's a little bit about me. If you're new to the channel, I cover everything. I've interviewed the head of the Macadamia Association in South Africa. I've interviewed Jack Miller from the Cape Independence Party, all of the Cape Secession groups. I've interviewed Herman Ruiz, a tobacco farmer in Northwest. I've interviewed a panel beater. I've interviewed the leaders of most of the opposition parties in South Africa and dozens of political candidates from across these parties. I have interviewed Steve Hofmeyr. I've interviewed Giselle. The list goes on and on. I've covered research and topics on everything from energy to farming to the green climate, all this stuff. And so I think you'll find the content enigmatic but interesting nonetheless. So cool. Boy, that ANC crash and burn video I did earlier today is still getting views. I'm actually surprised by that. Thank you if you've watched that video. Let me take a look. That was this morning. That one has gained 13,500 views. Wow, that's pretty cool. 391 people watched in the last hour, so that's pretty awesome. I suppose the clickbait titles don't hurt crash and burn ANC, but that's not clickbait. That's actually what happened. They have crashed and burned. The ANC is an utter disaster. Yep, utter disaster. And we've got so many people watching now because YouTube is not hiding my IP address. They can't figure out that I'm actually here instead of the States. I'm actually considering ending a stream with 200 people on for a live because we had 300. Let me see what else here. So Ronaldo's apparently going to Parliament. Okay, wow. Well, that's cool. We'll find that out tomorrow when Ronaldo and I talk. What else? Do I think Ramaphosa will resign? No, I think he's too arrogant to resign. Ramaphosa is an asshat. I don't think he'll resign. He might be forced to resign, but he won't do it willingly. Alvin Vestot says, nice. Chris, a true friend of Southern. Thank you so much. K-Dog says, hope so. So do I. Julie Bourdon. Hey, Julie, you're back. Thanks for all this feedback. Chris, great to hear what's really going on here. Yeah, isn't it funny that I'm here and I have to tell them. Dropping a bucket says, thanks for the effort. Most credible reporting from a non-African available today. I think it's also most credible from an African too, but that's just me. Thank you for that drop in a bucket. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. You still got a chance to hit the like button. It costs you nothing before the night's over. And then, oh, somebody just gifted memberships. Neil Aspeling says, DA must win. I don't know how they're going to pull that off. Sandy says, I'm thinking from perspective, why stay for all the crap when he has enough money and business to keep busy? Because he's got an ego the size of the South Atlantic, just like most politicians. So, yeah, anyway. By the way, if you come to the meet and greet, remind me to show you my campaign video. I can't show it here because Lee Greenwood's God Bless America song is on there, and I'll get a copyright strike. But when we're off camera, I can show you my video in which I ran for office and get your thoughts on it. So when you're in the U.S., just use VL. What, VPN, you mean? It doesn't work. Doesn't work. Tried it. But I'll try it again. So 10 gifted memberships from Bosch Zebra, and I didn't see what they came up for because I don't have my software. So I'll offer the salutes to everybody, and I'll do it with the glasses on. So for those who don't know, when people become paying members of my channel and I'm on air in my studio, it comes up on the screen, a little dinosaur jumps across the screen, and then I salute people because how often does a colonel salute you? Well, it's a sign of respect, and I'm respecting people who bought a membership. In this case, Bosch Zebra gave 10 of them, but I'll show the respect for them just the same. A lot of people like it screen captures being saluted by a colonel. So the first one was Charles Van Onselen, who was gifted a membership. I think it's well deserved. And for those of you South Africans who don't know better, that is the correct way to salute. None of this British stuff, this weird stuff like this. You actually, in the U.S. Army, this is how we salute, right here. All right, thumb tucked under like that. Thumb goes under, flat hand straight out, and you at the correct angle right to the temple, or in this case I could put in my glasses, but I put it to the temple. So there you go. So Hendo, put on a link here. Teeny was gifted membership by Bosch Zebra. Teeny, congratulations. RPO. RPO to me is Rural Post Office. I'm not sure what it means to you. LL Entertainment. Then there's David Curtis. YS. Louis. Philip van Niekerk. And and Usina. Usina, you've had one before. Andre Sherman says, hi Chris, thanks for an informed conversation. You're very welcome, Andre. Also a very polite conversation. Didn't yell at anybody. Nobody lost their mind. I kept their profanity out tonight. Antoinette, Stormers played well. I think they played well down a player, but they weren't playing so well before that. Far too many unforced errors. They should have ran away with the game, but the Lions held in there. VPN USA, that says you're in. Yeah, I know, VPN, yeah, exactly. Okay. Tommy Sides, American here, was a sergeant in the Air Force back in the 80s. I live in Balfour near Joburg. Have produced a Christian album here. God bless you, sir. Well, thank you, Tommy Sides. Thanks for finding me. I interview artists. I have not interviewed anyone that's on Christian music. I'd be happy to do that. If you join the WhatsApp group, you can send me a note, and then if you want to join it, and then we'll respond back. I'm happy to interview you. I already got a couple of people that I'm not going to interview while I'm here who I've met, or someone asked me to interview once I get back home. But yeah, I interview artists all the time. Steve Holfmeyer, Giselle, Monty Jackson. So yeah, happy to do that. So Tommy, welcome. And who else we got here? Neil Aspeling, ANC, and EFF Kanma, and the Stott Ganspen. Ooh, boy, okay. Charles, I return to salute. Thank you very much, Charles. Appreciate that. And Bosch says, excellent salute. Okay, what else I got there? Sandy says, I agree if they go for anyone but DA, ANC screws itself as they're joining the same voting pool. Exactly. And Erica salutes all the new members. And then there's the email address. You can send me email to that email address if you want to reach out to me directly rather than join the WhatsApp group. But I don't check it all the time. In fact, I haven't checked it once since I've been in South Africa, I don't think, because I've been so busy. South Africa is so screwed, says Hank, from the United States. Thank you for sharing that. Rossi Erasmus should be present. No, I don't think so. I like Rossi, but not present. And Eric is there. All right, folks, I think that's enough for tonight. Thank you so much. Be sure to hit the like button. And thanks for joining us. Tell your friends. I used to tell people, tell your friends, tell your enemies. We like open discourse and cogent conversation here, and I welcome it. But we learned a long time ago in 2020 that just invites trolls who don't really have a conversation. Strange, what's this Joking Atheist? Strange is that, well, I didn't see you until now, Joking Atheist. I see you right now. You just put the @ Colonel Chris Wyatt, but I didn't see your comments earlier. William Scott says, do you think the Western Cape going independent can be a good thing? Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying I'm in favor of it. I'm just saying it absolutely, it can succeed, it can function. I had this conversation, a 2-hour conversation with Des Palm, who's the leader of Cape Exit, just yesterday. Yesterday? What's today? Today's Saturday? It was Friday? Was it Friday? No, it was Thursday. On Thursday, I had a conversation with Des Palm. Yep. So, tell me, since my wife is an artist agent here for 20 years and knows Steve, I'll have her contact music. She's not what it was. No, it's not. I tried to promote Afrikaans performers in South Africa when lockdown started, and I got the Heisman, which means they just told me to foot sec. I wanted to interview, of course, Juanita du Plessis, one of my favorite performers. Nothing. Her son Ruan Josh and her daughter, whom I think is an incredible performer. Nothing. I did actually get Nadine agreed to come on the program and then ghosted me. Didn't get Nadine, so never heard back from those people. Very rude and disrespectful, and I got no use for people like that. I did meet with Belleville. Francois van Kok. I went to his concert in Pretoria. And then in Belleville, which is where he's from, I sat down in a coffee shop and I interviewed Francois van Kok, and it was pretty cool. And it was very kind of him to give me the interview, but I mentioned that I'd be at the Rugby World Cup, and I think he was going to be there too. And then I said, let's link up, and I never heard back from him. So, but Francois van Kok, I've interviewed Francois van Kok, Monty Jackson, Steve Hofmeyer, Giselle. These are all artists I've interviewed here. So, yep. And I've done a few others too, so who are less well known. Also, Trevor Dongenet, who was the bass player for Johnny Clegg. I've interviewed him as well. So yeah, I've done lots of artists. I try to promote them so they get a chance to make money and people learn about them. I mean, a lot of people in South Africa who are Afrikaners or speak Afrikaans have never heard of Giselle and only heard of her because of me. Now, I keep telling people that I really want to interview someone here in the Western Cape. Okay, I'm done with that. I really want to interview somebody here in the Western Cape, which I can't seem to get, and that is no other than, what's her name? She sings Fia Vorda. I'm drawing a blank right now. I think she does soapies too, but, sorry. Taryn Lamb. Taryn Lamb is who I'd really love to interview her. If anybody knows Taryn Lamb in the Western Cape, please put me in touch with her. Now, I go to vineyards and I do documentaries and promote vineyards. I promote artists. I promote everything so that people are aware of what's going on. So, Fia Vorda lyrics, yeah, I love this song. Fia Vorda, je krijgt verloren dit, ik liefst voor jou. Yep, anyway, so yeah. Anyway, so I love that song. But that's Taryn Lamb. So if anybody knows her, can get me in touch with her. I'd be very grateful for that. Also, I'm trying to reach out to Catherine Esau, the last first language speaker of, I think it's a Khoi language, Nu. She's in her late 80s. Katarina lives in Uppington, and I may be going up into this trip. If anybody knows her and can put me in touch with her, I would love to interview her. I'm trying to promote the language so that people are aware of it so it helps survive. Joking, it says, my wife and I have been talking about doing a USA trip. We want to explore all the history, all the good stuff. Deadwood. Okay, well, Deadwood will be very disappointing, but if you're out that way, it's worth seeing. Show is always 3 to 4 a.m. my time, Chris Holmes says. Yeah, well, that's because you're like in Australia, man. Sorry. Do you think the Western Cape independent supporters have a fair point? Yeah, William, or Willem. Of course they have a fair point. They have a fair point, as do the Zulu if they want to break away in KZN. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Ask Steve Hofmeyer to put you in contact with Taryn Lamb. Okay. I'll send him a message. Taryn Lamb on KFM. I'll try to get a hold of. Okay. Yeah, I would love to interview her. I mean, that's one of my favorite songs. Come to Wyoming, just a suggestion. Well, Dan, I may move to Wyoming after my experience in politics in Pennsylvania. I love Wyoming. Anyway, that's enough, folks. Hour and 48 minutes, 176 people, 234 likes. I really appreciate that. Let me see if we gained some subscribers on this stream. I think we did. Let's take a look here very quickly. Yeah, we gained it. We're up to 711, so that's pretty cool. So we're getting there, inching up. Remember, this channel had 23,000 subscribers on the original channel before YouTube censored it, bastards. But yeah, so the elections train wreck. How did that one do? That was one I did last night. By the way, this is how much effort I put in this stuff. Last night, I went to bed at 4 a.m. because after I got back last night, I watched the results come in until I got to 97%, and then I recorded a video at 3 o'clock in the morning, edited it, and uploaded about 3:45. So that one got 6,000 views, just to get people up to speed about the elections last night. So tonight it's a little bit earlier with the live stream, and looks like we've had a good audience show up tonight. So thank you all so much for coming tonight, to those who are here. And let me take a look and see, does it tell me anything? Well, it's live. I don't know if it tells me this. Yeah, we've had 2,911 people tune in for this while we're live. That's pretty awesome. I don't have my studio open, so I didn't know that. I just took a look. And 163 current viewers, that's actual true. So, wow, thank you all so much. I'm a bit humbled. This is kind of where we were 4 years ago when we started this program. After 4 or 5 months, we had 23,000 subscribers, and lots of people were discovering us. But we're back, and we're having success this time, and the elections are helping with that. And you'll get this kind of analysis and feedback on every topic we talk about. Interview authors, all kinds of people. So that's enough for tonight, folks. If something happens or breaks overnight, I'll give you that. But tomorrow I'm going to Belleville, and when I'm done Belleville, I'm going to go to Betty's Bay. So I got to make a banner for the meet and greet at Pringle Bay tomorrow night, and everyone's welcome to come to that. I'll set the time, and we'll meet at Burger Bar down there, and we'll see how it goes. And I tried to reserve a table, but I couldn't get through. So anyway, and if it doesn't work out, we'll find some place to go. So we'll leave a note and let people know. But we'll be at Pringle Bay tomorrow. And then the 2 days after that, I'll be staying overnight in Somerset West. And so if you've got an activity or a place you'd like me to speak at or someone to talk to, Somerset West is a great location for me to do that as well. All right, so, and then it's off to Gauteng on the 5th, and lots of stuff going on up there. So thanks a lot, everybody. Cheers, God bless, have a good night, take care of yourself, and thank you for your support for the channel. Go Stormers. Now they've got to win the quarterfinal, move on to a semi, and the Bulls will finish in second place. So there you go. Cheers, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Whoops, where's the